Okay, I think it's about time for us to start. Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Tekla webinar from Trimble. I'm your host, Toni Kamala, and today I'm joined with our technical specialist, Sakari Lahti, who works as application manager for Tekla Structures. It's a time of the year again to have a sneak preview to a new version of Tekla Structures. And today we have a lot of exciting new things to talk about, and we will go into today's topics more in detail soon. But let's start with the version name. There's also a slight change in the naming concept. New version is now called Tekla Structures 2016, and today we are talking about what is new for those who work with the precast concrete structures. Before we continue, I urge you to close all other applications, then go to webinar and view in full screen mode. Please note that questions and answers will follow the presentations. You can ask questions at any time during the presentations, but we will address them at the close. Like usual, this webinar is being recorded, and our aim is to post the recording next Monday latest, and the recording can be found on the usual place on our Wednesday webinar page at tekla.com. Before continuing quickly, I'll quickly go through the disclaimer. The information presented regarding future product features and functionalities is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon in making a purchasing decision. Trimble is under no obligation to deliver any future products, features, or functions within any specified time frame. Release dates and content are subject to change at Trimble's sole discretion. Okay, but we get that covered, so let's move on to today's real topics. Like mentioned, there is a lot new and exciting things to show you today. Our goal for the webinar is to present the key new functionalities to be introduced for those who work with precast concrete. And with this slide, I'll briefly go through some of our topics and our agenda for today. And Sakari will then go into topics in detail. But if we start, we will start with the new functionality benefiting significant part of modeling work done in precast building projects. A new toolset called Wall Layout will bring major improvements to a way modeling and modifying of all types of precast walls is done, or can be done in Tekla Structures. The tool Wall Layout brings kind of similar functionalities for working with walls that have been available for floor structures with toolset called Floor Layout. Floor Layout has been really well received by the users and is one of the most used concrete tools. Another new functionality to be introduced is called Detailing Manager. This very beneficial tool enables to streamline detailing work by various different ways. It is easier to understand, I guess, in a Sakari's demonstration what this tool actually does, but basically user is able to create rules and automate certain repetitive tasks in detailing process, which first of all help to work more faster, but also helps to prevent human errors in process. And Sakari will show some nice examples with this new tool in his demonstration. Regarding drawings, there's also new developments which is done especially for rebar drawings and overall how to represent reinforcements in different types of drawings. There is new to offer. And also the creation and editing of project standard drawings and managing of repeated details on drawings. There is new features available. And regarding information management, use of object property values, information management functionalities overall, and use of organizer has been improved. And regarding collaboration between different project teams, For Tekla users, latest version offers improved ways to communicate with model. Especially the communication of model changes has great improvements. In addition to ones mentioned here, there is plenty of more, but today's webinar we have tried to pick up the most interesting ones regarding working with Precast. And there is one thing in today's agenda which I have not mentioned yet. One of the key new features which will come with Tekla Structures 2016, and we are quite excited about this major upgrade for Tekla Structures. And this upgrade is of course completely renewed user interface. This is something which will bring Tekla Structures to a completely new era, and we are very, very excited to show some highlights of it to you today. There's three words to describe the new user interface: easy, simple, productive. New user interface offers a completely new and modern, easier approach to look and feel for Tekla Structures. When developing new UI, focus has been that it's easy to use and easy to learn. Commands are fast to use, easy to find, and making the use of tool more productive. Of course, for the current users, we understand that in the beginning, there most likely will be some loss of productivity, but there are great new features in new user interface which will make it easy to pick up and become even more productive. Sakari will show some of the key features soon in his presentation. There's some examples of the user feedback on this slide. Feedback what we have received has been quite positive, and just to pick up some examples from the Tekla user feedback program. It's written in the slide. It's easy to find the right commands, more efficiency in modeling, and I personally like this first one. I guess, at least in my opinion, is that this says it best. So far, it seems like more time I spend with new interface, more I like it. This is a major upgrade to our Tekla Structures, and we are really, really excited about it. And I'll not keep you waiting no longer. I'll give screen to Sakari, who will show new version, show new user interface in use, and of course demonstrates other exciting new functionalities more in detail. So please, Sakari, you can start your demonstration.
Hello everyone, also from my behalf, and thank you, Toni, for the introduction to the topic. First of all, I have to say that I'm very happy to be here presenting today. We have by far the most exciting version of Tekla Structures to show. Like Toni already mentioned, we have a totally new user interface, and I can assure you that you will love it at first sight. Or for more conservative user, falling in love might take some time, but eventually you will see that it has its many benefits. Even I got a bit scared when seeing it the first time, but now I definitely don't want to go and use the older versions anymore. Now, let's take a closer look of the new cool Tekla Structures 2016. The welcome screen gives you a clear, calm start to modeling. There's a list of your recent models, and you can create project thumbnails to make them even easier to spot. Here you can see the new user interface. The ribbon menu on the top has commands for building your model and editing drawings. As you can see, the basic commands are usually found. The best thing in the ribbon when comparing to the icons in the old user interface is that the icons don't jump around anymore. Icons will stay in the order that has been set. You can also see now the new contextual toolbar that combines the direct modification toolbar and mini toolbar. You can set the toolbar's relative location by dragging and holding the control button. You can also pin the location of the toolbar. It's also possible to minimize the size. Then it will grow if you hover on top of it with the mouse. Especially the paint button is handy in everyday modeling. The content in the toolbar can be customized for different object types. In the File menu on the left, you will find Settings, Imports, Exports, and other commands for purposes other than directly editing the model or drawings. Setting the keyboard shortcuts has been also renewed. Now it's much easier to create own shortcuts than it has been before. Like here you can see how shortcut for split is assigned. Now back to the ribbon. I have added one command to my customized tab. I will move that tab to a better location. It's also possible to hide tabs and scroll in the ribbon with the mouse wheel. Here Rebar Shape Manager is opened from the Customized tab. Then I will show you my personal favorite in the new UI. Quick Launch is a completely new feature. It can be used for finding commands, icons, or something in Tekla Warehouse. Quick Launch helps a lot when taking this new user interface into use. It helps you find the correct commands and highlights those in the ribbon. For example, here Rebar Shape Catalog is opened from the Quick Launch and used. Preset short key for Quick Launch is Ctrl and Q. As a last thing from the UI, I will quickly show the side pane that is located on the right side of the screen. Side pane has been a step towards the new user interface. There we've had the Component and Applications catalog since version 21.1, which combines the components and macros to the same list. And there is the reference model handling since version 21.0. That has received also a lot of good feedback. Okay, here is a short summary of the new user interface. So we have the new startup screen, modern ribbons and icons, new file menu, and revamped graphic colors. As a new feature for making Tekla easier to learn and to be more productive, we have the fantastic Quick Launch, contextual toolbar, and easy to set up shortcuts. Then let's go to the improvements that are more precast focused. First tool I'm going to introduce is the wall layout tool. I have to say that I'm thrilled about this tool because we have developed this for a long time and finally being able to tell you about this. Wall layout is not only for the precast detailer, but this tool supports design process from conceptual design to the detailing. It is the most convenient tool for creating wall structures. You can create walls with lower level of detail and continue making more detailed geometry if needed, or you can model the wall straight away with all the details. As said, wall layout supports all common wall types. As a precast detailer, you can design and detail products like sandwich walls, solid panels, or double walls. Modern technology in the user interface makes it easy to use the same tool for any product. Wall type is a combination of different layers that forms the wall type. Layer can be structural, insulation, foil, void, or surface. Different layers can be either split within the Elementation or not. Here is a setting for double wall. I either create the wall type with concrete infill that is not part of the cast unit or create it as a void. Notice how the wall type preview updates when making changes to the layer. Then predefined settings are loaded for sandwich wall. Here I want to show how the default offsets of each layer can be set. Last, you can see how new surface layer is added. Tool supports concrete surface treatments that you might need to use for marking the surfaces in the drawings. Now let's see the tool in action. Let's create a sandwich wall on top of architect's reference drawing. Creation type is continuous, and the creation can be finished with middle mouse button. All walls are automatically connected to each other. That is how you would define the wall layout of the building. Next, the openings will be added. First option to create an opening is to type the sill height and the window height. Then it's easy to pick the location and the length from the reference drawing. To create a door opening, just type the sill height to 0 and pick the locations from the reference drawing. After creating the openings, it's possible to modify the opening size and shape with direct modification. Another way of creating openings is picking the points from the wall face. In this example, you'll see the architect reference model. You can create rectangular or polygonal openings. Here the points are picked from the reference model. Openings can be moved by dragging the opening or copied with holding the control button while dragging. Same modeling method would be used for internal solid walls in the building. As you already saw in the wall layout creation, the walls were connected automatically. New connection component called Wall Layout Connector were applied to connect those walls. Connector supports the detailed connections or can be used for only setting the geometry of the wall right. Here you can see the created connector more in detail. Connector dialog has also dynamic previews for connecting layers. It makes it very easy to understand what kind of detail you are about to create. Gaps between layers are typed for each layer. 3 different connection types can be toggled between the layers. Now a setting for a sandwich wall is loaded. Connector now creates a detailed connection between inner shells. Any connection component can be applied, and wall-to-wall connection is created in this example. Seam gap between walls can still be modified from the connector dialog. If there are any changes in the wall type, the connector updates accordingly, as you can see here when the layer thickness is changed. Now how about splitting the wall into cast units? Creating seams between walls is very easy. In this example, I will first create seams without any details. Vertical seam is created to desired location by picking the point from the model. Then I will load the settings for this sandwich wall case. As you can see, again, the detailed connection is created. I will apply those settings and create one more seam. As you can see, it will be already detailed. One really cool feature of wall layout is its possibility to modify the geometry of the wall with the direct modification. For example, to create a ridge facade, I can just drag the point in the wall and form the new shape. The connections are beautifully updated, and if I would like to split this wall with the horizontal seam, I could do that with the polyseam creation command. There we go. And just to prove, the wall is now a separate cast unit. Okay, back to the openings. Many of you may think that there are a lot of details in the sandwich wall windows, and that kind of row opening are no good when you need to detail the walls. But it is. Again, you can either create detailed opening from the beginning or set the details later. Just select the window and apply the details. Opening geometry is recognized and converted to a detailing component. And yes, in Tekla Structures 2016, detailed openings with the door and window combination can be created with sandwich wall window component. Okay, if you are still not amazed and waiting for the wow factor in the wall layout package, I have one more application to show you. Wall layout contains an application for optimizing precast design when dividing the wall into elements. As you know, there are a lot of different reasons that affects how the wall should be divided to elements. There are size limitations at the factory pallet, size limitations at transportation, weight limitations at factory crane, and in the crane on the site. For those cases where architectural reasons are not defining the seam locations, we have a tool, Wall Layout Elementation. Now let's go back to that double wall model. Here the final corner of the building has just been designed. Typically in double wall buildings, the architectural reasons doesn't play that big role in elementation. Now let's open the elementation application. First, I want to optimize the elementation by length of the walls. Here my preferred length is 8 meters and second is 6 meters. Wall is split to 3 cast units and the cross length of the two walls is 8 meters. Please notice that the gaps and offsets in the corner connections are taken into account. Second, I want to split the walls by number. I want to split it into very useful when trying to optimize that all the walls could be casted with the same formwork. Now walls should have exactly the same pallet length. And as you can see, the seam is created in the same way that it has been created manually, which can be modified with the direct modification. Third option is to split the walls by weight. If you want to get as heavy walls as possible, this is where you save a lot of time, especially when there are openings that you want to take into account. Again, you can see from the object browser at the bottom that all the walls are slightly under the set weight. Last option, but not the least, is same as previous, but now the weight depends on the crane lifting capacity. It's possible to define the crane lifting capacity chart and even make a cool preview of the chart. Again, a lot of time is saved and errors avoided. I'm selecting the walls, and again you can see that the walls further from the crane are lighter. So just define your project element limitations, run the application, and you have an instant sophisticated guess of the elementation. This is very powerful, for example, when creating your tender. And like I said, after the elementation, you can still modify the locations of the seams very easily. As a short summary, you can split the walls by length or height. Yes, it's possible also to create horizontal seams, or by number, or static weight, or dependent on the crane chart. You still have rules for minimum and maximum dimensions and maximum weight. And if you're using other parameter for elementation, like elementation by length, those values will still apply. You have the option to define how close the seam can be of an opening or just ignore the openings. Also, elementation takes manually inserted seams into account because there might be architectural reasons that seams are located in a certain location. I guess you understand the benefits of this application, so no need to point it out much more. Okay, Detailing Manager. Detailing Manager is another great new tool that we have developed to support the workflow from design to detailing. Actually, we should have had this kind of tool for our precast customers long time ago. With this tool, it's possible to set up the rules for detailing to follow up the design intent. With this, it's much faster to insert multiple details to either one cast unit or for entire model, if you will. Let me try to explain how this tool works. Here I have a solid precast slab. I know that there are 3 different tools that I should use for a slab. I open the Detailing Manager. Here I can first choose what tool I want to insert. I choose the tool for slab lifters. I choose the desired attribute settings and component input type. Finally, I choose the filter. Filter is used for defining what kind of parts in that cast unit should get that detail. In this lab, I would not need to use it because there are no other parts attached. Here I select mesh bars for the reinforcement and again attribute settings and the filter. Finally, I choose another reinforcing component for the U-hooks and the ring reinforcement. Now Detailing Manager is inserted from the component catalog and the detailing is done. I could use this tool also as an application. Let me just copy another slab on the side. So now I can select these 2 slabs and create to select it. Imagine the possibilities of this together with Organizer. And I can insert the details as Detailing Manager plugin or as a separate component. Then those will not know that they were inserted by the Detailing Manager. As you can see, I can open the dialogues of the actual detailing components that has been used. Now let's continue with an example of a sandwich wall. I have created the rules for detailing the sandwich wall. I can use the wall layout tool as an input. It means that all the cast units created by wall layout will get those details. As you know, there are several different components used for detailing a sandwich wall. This really speeds up your detailing process. Now you don't have to try and find all the correct tools from the catalog, load the correct settings, and add the details wall by wall. And if you add the details wall by wall, you might miss one. And one great benefit when using this Detailing Manager together with wall layout as an input is that if you create a new seam, so you want to split the wall into 2 cast units, you can see that all the details are created to both of the cast units. Here is one more example of how those filter rules could be utilized. The rules for what kind of lifting hook should be created for a solid wall. Rules for lifting component settings has been defined according to wall's weight and height. Heavier the wall, larger the lifting hooks. Also, if the wall is higher than 4 meters, additional lifting hooks are inserted to the side of the wall. Again, if opening is created, it makes the wall lighter, and because of that, lifters are automatically updated to smaller size. Then I will tell you about the improvements for the drawing production. And first, I will tell you about the 2D library. 2D library helps you to create drawings that contains details or text that has no connection to the model. It can be used in many cases where you need to show some standard detail or text in a shop drawing or a general arrangement drawing. In this example of previous precast slab, the lifting instructions of the slab and a 3D detail of additional rebars that are needed for the lifters are inserted to the drawing as a 2D detail. Please watch more about this functionality in an engineering sneak preview webinar. We have received a lot of requirements for extending the annotation capabilities of rebars in drawings. Therefore, I'm happy to inform that we have now 5 new tools to improve your reinforcement drawings. First, I will show you how to create exploded reinforcement view. I open the Draw Rebar Pullout application. I select the rebar from the view, and pullout is automatically created and aligned with the view. Now I define that pullout should be created for each bar group. And now you can see the pullouts at both sides. I can generate pullouts also from all the bars in the view by just selecting the view. I can exclude certain rebar classes or shapes from the generation. I will also use now a different style for the pullout. That application actually created a drawing plugins that you can also use independently. Here you can see how one is created. Here you can also see what kind of options we have in the plugin. There are a lot of different marking settings and location of the mark settings. And also you can define the units that are shown in the pullout dimensions. Then I'll show you another plugin for rebar annotations. It is called Rebar Group Dimension. Notice the different dimension line types for each bar, first and last bar, and dimension to the concrete edge, which is automatically created. I will then load another settings for showing marks in this brush style. Here I will use the Rebar Group Marking tool to generate nice annotations to the side of the slab. As you can see, both bar groups has been merged to one line. I will create another marks and rotate the marks to be aligned with the another annotation. Short summary. So Draw Rebar Pullouts is the application for generating the exploded drawings. Rebar Pullout Picture and Marking is the plugin used for the pullout. Here is more examples what you can do with that. Rebar Group Dimensions gives a great flexibility for showing the rebar group dimensions and marks, and here is more examples. And finally, Rebar Group Marking which is a great tool for creating a clean looking marks in your reinforcement drawings. And here is some examples. Fifth tool is for creating cranking representation of rebars with the lap length. In this short video you see how easily you can show the representation of cranking by just picking the overlapping rebars. You can either choose to show the lapping length or not. We have also improvements on the core for the drawings, for example like the text. So now the text is wrapping if you make changes to the text box size. Also good improvements for line editing commands. Let's look also one major improvement in the organizer. This really makes organizer a tool for information management. Now you can use the organizer for writing UDA information to the model. So objects that belongs to category will get the UDA that is defined for that category. It can even inherit the category name. So this is very good for streamlining your information flow and save time and avoid errors. In the following example, I will show you, for example, based on the object name, you can write a certain UDA value to the model. For example, in a Unitechnic case, we need to define the product type as a UDA. Okay, first you can see that this wall has an empty UDA value in the Unitechnic product type. But I have defined the categories in the organizer so that it belongs to a category of a shell number 2. Now when I synchronize the model, all the property values that has been set for each category will be written into the model. I will then open the User-Defined Attributes dialog and see on the Unitechnic tab that the product type has been written correctly to that object. As a last topic, I will show you the improvements in the BIM collaboration. So now we have an integrated change management in Tekla Structures. We also have a new cool feature for controlling the conversions done from the IFC models. On the following demonstration, I will quickly walk you through with the new features. As you can see here, I have an IFC model. When I open the reference model information and go to the change detection, there you can see two different versions of that same IFC file. One is older and one is newer. So when I set those both visible, it will show me the changes and also the inserted and deleted information. Here I can see that there's a change in the window size. And now because of those changes, I will modify my own model to match that window size. There we go. To demonstrate the conversion management, I will first update the view to show only the new objects in the IFC file. I will then press the button to open the conversion management. It's possible to browse between the objects, And on the right side you see the conversion status. I will set this object to be converted as a normal object, this as an item, and the next one as an item. I will apply those changes and objects are converted. I will quickly promote also some new extensions that already can be found from Tekla Warehouse. Assembly Exporter tool is for exporting individual cast units as a separate IFC file from Tekla Structures model. That kind of tool has been requested a lot by our customers who want to have 3D models at the factory. They are heavily using Tekla Field 3D for building project status review, but to have easy way of viewing the 3D model of that exact product that they are manufacturing gives a great benefit for avoiding errors and saving time. Model at the factory is a great asset to support the shop drawings. Model annotations allows users to quickly store live views in the model that show the user's added dimensions, text, and associative notes to allow easy model-based communication. Mini-seam applicator is a generic helper tool to place the seam details for wall joints. You can use your self-made seam components and place those correctly with this tool. Last one is already a bit older tool, but worth mentioning. The construction sequencer is intended to provide erection or delivery planner a building information modeling based tool to assist with planning and execution of on-site activities. So these and a lot more can be found from Tekla Warehouse. Notice that there were over 4,500 content items uploaded to the warehouse in the year 2015. Also, the tools developed at Tekla Product Development, like the tools I've shown today, are released first as extensions. That way, it makes it easier and faster for us to release improvements and fixes to the new tools. Oh, a lot of information, but I'm happy with the content that we have for the version 2016. Let's do a quick recap. We had the wall layout tool, which will be available in Tekla Warehouse. We had the detailing manager, which will also be released as an extension in the warehouse. At the 2D library on the drawing site, 5 new extensions will be also available first as an extension. Then we had the organizer and the BIM collaboration improvements. Of course, there's a lot of more cool stuff in the new version, so please remember to read the release notes to get all the information of the improvements in the new version. Tony will probably remind you also, but please share your comments in the survey sent after this webinar. I guess that's all from me, and I'm happy to answer questions after Tony's final comments. But at this point, thank you from my behalf, and back to you, Tony. And Tony, what do you think about the content we have for the version 2016?
Thank you, Sakari. Well, I guess, like mentioned earlier, this is quite exciting version released to us and a lot of new tools and a lot of major steps forward. And I have to say, it was quite nice presentation also from you, Sakari. So thank you for that. I'll just click this slides forward a bit. Regarding the content and regarding the new functionalities, I hope our audience also got a good understanding what was about those new tools and functionalities presented today. And like Sakari mentioned, there is a lot more. So I would encourage also you to check the other sneak preview webinars which will be broadcast this week. Today we have been focusing on what's new for Precast, but there is 3 additional ones available for steel and engineering from earlier this week, and for concrete contractors, which will be on live tomorrow. And all these webinars will be recorded, so if you do not have time to attend sessions this week, you can always come back and check those at a later date. New version will be available March 16th, and at the same time, a website for new version will be opened. So I would recommend you to check this out. TeklaStructures.com will be open starting March 16. This is a dedicated website for new version, and you will find your way to download new version and links to other related information from there. So please put this somewhere where you can remember. Before going to questions, I would still like to mention about 2 changes for 2 Tekla Structures configurations. For Drafter, there is a lot weighted functional improvements being made. With new release addition to modification of drawings, Drafter users can now also create all types of drawings with Tekla Structures. And this change is widely requested by our customers and will bring weighted benefits for workflow between the user creating a detailed model with detailing license and the user with drafter license focusing on drawing production. Another small change is done for cast in place configuration. So name of cast in place is changed, and it's now configuration is now called Rebar Detailing. There is no other changes to, or for instance, to the functionalities. Only the name has been changed. But just for your information, the name change has basically done to better depict the normal usage of this particular configuration. Okay, this was the end of our presentation today, and it's time to go and take some questions. So we have got some questions during the webinar, and I will share those shortly. If you still have questions, please submit them by using questions dialog box. And you can also send questions later on by emailing at tekla.webinar@trimble.com. But the first question, shall we take? Yeah. So, can you also manually insert seams after the elementation? So, Sakari, this is for you.
Okay, so after the elementation application, it is possible to manually insert new seams and also delete the seams created by the elementation application, or modify them in a drag and drop kind of movement. So yes, it is possible to insert seams.
Okay, thank you. And then there is another one. This is related. Sakari, can you mute? Thank you. This is relating to a detailing manager. How many may I create for detailing manager at one time? So let's.
So how many rows? Well, basically you can add 15 tab pages. So the answer is 15 rules. But for advanced using, you could actually create a rule that inserts the detailing manager component. So in that way, you can basically have more rules than you ever need.
Yeah. Thank you. And then there's another one still. I guess this is relating to a Rebar tools which you showed. Is it possible to use all of the new drawing plugins also in GA drawings?
So all of the 5 new drawing components that I just showed works in cast unit and GA drawings. And very good that there was this kind of question if I didn't point that out before, because these tools are very valuable, especially for reinforcement drawings in the casting place structures.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I just noticed we are already used our time. I guess this was the last question. There is a couple of more still, but we will come back to those by email. But I think now it's time to end our webinar today. Before closing, I like to remind that during this week we will still organize other sneak preview webinar where you will have a chance to hear new development done for concrete things for the concrete contractors. And in 2 weeks, 23rd of March, we will have a webinar with the topic sneak preview for latest version of Tekla TEDS. Tekla TEDS is our powerful software to be used to automate repeated structural calculations. You are more than welcome to join these as well. More information about the content is already available at webinars page at tekla.com. Welcome also to our next month's webinar to learn about the new era of collaboration. The webinar will be held on Wednesday, 6th of April. Tekla model sharing, that's a powerful tool for collaboration. It's not only enabling parties to have real-time communication about the project, but several people can actually work on a project at the same time, regardless of their location or the level of network connection. With model sharing, one source of information reduces errors and ensures the quality of the project. So go ahead and register to this webinar at tekla.com and webinars. But about today's webinar, if you have any other questions about the new version that we did not mention or you did not find answers today, please send those to us to webinars@greenbowl.com. And if we haven't answered to your questions during this webinar, like mentioned, we will get back to you via email. At the end of the webinar, there will be a short feedback poll, just a few short questions. We would appreciate if you would take a few seconds to respond to these. This helps us to shape this program and just enables us to better to understand and satisfy your webinar needs. But I think it has come to time to end our webinar today. For all our listeners there, thank you for being with us. Thank you, Sakari, for great demonstration, and goodbye till next time.